So we're getting down to, I think, the final pieces of the build. I've got some towels here on the work surface to protect the case. And the first thing we need is the various case pieces. And that is the back panel. We'll just leave it wrapped up. And the plastic front, or the plastic bezel. And it just looks excellent. It's a beautiful piece of molding. And to this we're going to insert this, but actually we have to put this together first. So let me put this back in the box. And we will move on to another part that just makes this such a beautiful build. So this is the front panel of the machine. All the painting was done on the back, all the silk screening. So you want to be very careful not to scratch the back surface here. And this is white paint on the back to protect it. Don't try to peel it off. You're only going to peel off this protective cover on the front to expose an absolutely gorgeous panel. A little bit of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. Wow, it's the first time I've seen this in hand. It is absolutely gorgeous. So it wants us to use a bit of the protective material here. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. And this is to help protect the paint from the nut that holds that power switch on. Trim this down to a little better size. We don't want it protruding. We don't want is the spinning of the nut for the power switch to scratch the paint. So I'm going to put the key switch in this orientation. A little bit of plastic here to help protect the paint. If I can get it to sit down flush. The captive nut. And of course you need to be careful, whatever tool you use to tighten this up, you don't want it to slip and skitter across the paint and damage the paint. And I've got this little pair of channel locks you've seen me use many times that work really well for this kind of stuff. I don't think it needs to be super tight enough that the key works and it doesn't flop around loose. Nice. That feels good to me. I think that looks good. The next thing's going to happen is this is going to get screwed into here. Again, being careful not to drop it or scar it. There are, in this case, 5 metal standoffs. In his picture, they're nylon, but he comments that these in the later kits are metal. These get started. I actually think I have a little nut driver here that'll work well for those. They don't need to be super tight. Again, you don't want to crack the acrylic. I did feel that catch. And of course the main PCB will mount up onto these studs. I felt that one catch. Wow, that looks really nice. These are a little bit tight in here, but the brass inserts that he's got molded into the case for this are just absolutely beautiful. It's a great job, great attention to detail. I don't see any supplied washers in there, so I guess there's no washers up underneath these. Again, I don't think these need to be dramatically tight. He didn't want to come upstairs, and now he's downstairs crying. So that center one didn't seem to pull up as tight as I would have expected it to. There it is. I'm assuming those are behind the bezel, where if you scratch the paint slightly around the edges, it wouldn't show up. And I am not putting super amounts of torque on these, just snugging a tiny bit more. Wow, is that gorgeous or what? That is really beautiful. Wow. Very impressed. What a labor of love. That's just a beautiful, beautiful reproduction of the front panel. Wow. Let me set that aside. And we go back to the logic board. And he talks about this in the manual. Again, I have read through all of this a couple of times, so I've got the steps in my head. This is what we're looking for right here. So we've got screws and nuts that go through the PCB, but you can't pull that tight, or you can't turn the screw to turn it into the standoffs we just put in. So the idea with these is they're going to come through, and these nuts are going to get spun down most of the way on, assuming I can get the nut out of there. It's not aluminum, or it's not steel. And of course, if I could keep my fingers on it so I could get it started. And obviously I can't seem to keep a grip on it. Okay, be stubborn. Gonna hold. Oh my God. You know, sometimes you just don't have any luck. I'm gonna hold the nut in place and just start to screw into it from the back side. This gets spun on most of the way, but not all the way, so that the screw can be turned to lock the case in place. 1, 2, 3. Am I short one? It appears I am short one. Really. Don't know if, oh, there, is that it there? It got dropped back there on the back of the bench at some point. I don't know how or why. I'm just going to follow the same pattern here of trying to hold it in place and getting the screw started. And most of the way down, but not 100% down. Come on, you can start. There you go. That pie hanging off the back and the weight of the switches in the front make this really unstable. Oh, he's so pathetic down there. So pathetic. So that's got all that in place. Clear some room here. I'm going to bring back the front panel. This is going to sit down into it. Something like that. I've got a little Phillips floating around here. Felt like that one started. I felt that drop down and start. These will get turned most of the way in, but not tight. Because we want to be able to move it around slightly if we need to for alignment. For alignment here. Let's see if I can get that to tighten up. Feel for alignment over here. Board shifted up a bit. I can feel with my fingers the paddle is in alignment with the bezel. Again, I'm not super tightening these, just snugging them up. Wow, is that ever beautiful. Holy moly. Well, let's put some power on it and take a look at it in the case running. It'll take it a second here to wake up. Hopefully it's going to wake up. There it is. Oh man, does that look good. Wow. I thought the LEDs were going to be too bright, but now that I see them through the bezel, I think they're perfect. We've got the little rotary switches. There's a grub screw in there I'm going to back out so that the rotary switch will drop over the knob. that's beautiful. It needs to be up off the bezel a little bit so that you can actually push the push button, which I just did, and I think I just shut it down. Oh, there it's back. Tighten up the screw. A few people have said these knobs don't replicate the original. I don't have enough memory to remember what the original knobs looked like. I'd have to go look at a photo, but I'm still quite happy with that. Wow, was that ever beautiful. Halt. Load address. Load address. Load address. Continue running. Prog5, kernel 1, super 1, user D, super D, kernel D, data path, bus register, display register, and micro ADR FPP card. And look how the dimming of the LEDs is working in there. Hopefully you can see that down here. Oh, that was pretty. Oh, that's pretty. You know, I believe I read that the library actually, I think, uses pulse width modulation on the LEDs to dim them as if they were incandescent bulbs being flashed on and off, and they really do, in my opinion, capture that. That is really beautiful. Hopefully, I don't know how much glare you're getting. Let me get up where I can see. The camera here, and I can't actually see it. I got a low battery warning over the top, so I'll try to get it up here and rock it a little bit. And hopefully you can get an idea of just how beautiful that is. The last piece, which I won't be putting on at the moment, is of course this back panel. Which fits on whichever way it fits on, I'm not sure. Oh, it looks like it probably doesn't matter. There's those large screws in the box here for those. I'm not going to bother with the back panel for now until I figure out exactly how I'm going to cable things up. But really impressed. That is a beautiful, beautiful build. It came with this little display stand to sit it into so it sits level and you can operate the switches. Ah, that's pretty. That really does take me back. Oh, poor little dog downstairs. Wow, that is really beautiful. There's a lot of depth left back here for mods, extra hardware, and we'll get this little stand painted. But just looking at that, that is just gorgeous. Really nice job. Well worth the money in my opinion. It came with a couple of keys. Not that we don't have the key switch hooked up currently. Doesn't do anything. You can actually use it to power the unit if you want to. Very nice. Very happy with that. Wow. A+ on the kit, on the build, the design, the whole 9 yards. Really impressed. It's just so physically beautiful. It's hard not to just rant on and on. And a few extra parts. Take a look here. There's a bunch of extra LEDs, a couple extra beyond that spacers. I think 4 extra diodes, 1 extra 1K ohm resistor. So if you have a few extra parts, don't be surprised. He mentions in the manual there'd be extra parts. Lamp test, of course, works. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is get this on a terminal, boot up one of the operating systems, and give it a play. Anyhow, I've droned on long enough here. This has been a very long series. I think this will be the 10th video in the series, the build of this. Hopefully some of the detail and things I did will help somebody else with their build. And we'll talk soon.